Item number 3, if I could ask Councillor Hickling, please, to...
Are you going to leave the chambers? Shall I chair from here?
I'd like to come up here if you'd like, Barry, and I'll...
Well, okay. Okay. We'll go in the hot seat. Oh, Nick. Good. Well, this has gone through workshops and previous council meetings. So, Nick, is there any other comments you'd like to draw our attention to?
I guess there are a lot of words sitting in the report, as there often are. The key issue for you to get your heads around is whether you wish us as officers to proceed with physical works on the reserve, given all the deliberations you've had to date, or whether you wish to go out and seek some further community views, particularly around the extension of the road to the eastern end of that reserve. That really is the crux of the issue.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess from my perspective is the question that I keep asking myself is, in view of the fact that we had a legal challenge to the process around this already, which particular one of those options do you think is the most legally correct under the circumstances?
I guess just to clarify, 2 points. First of all, I'm not a lawyer, so I'll be careful. I believe he's on holiday, lucky beggar. But secondly, as I understand it, you haven't had a legal challenge. You've had some correspondence which has suggested there could well be a legal challenge if you don't make the decision that's being sought. In terms of looking at this issue, the safest path, I believe, the absolutely safest path is to go out and consult the community specifically on the extension of that road in the reserve area and the removal of the chain. That would remove any question about whether you had fulfilled your responsibilities in terms of consulting the community and seeking their views. Similarly, it could be argued that that's going over the top, above and beyond. And that's very much why the paper has been drafted the way it has, to give you a number of different options. Because ultimately it's a governance decision about what views you believe you require to make a decision.
So it's really, should you wish to continue with your previous decision to remove the chain, then we're saying consultation is the safe way, is a must. If you want to change that decision, that then obviously course will mean that you don't necessarily need to go out for consultation again. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just that there's a process, a mechanism that would wrap around if you still want to make that decision that you previously indicated that you did.
Just to clarify, for my peace of mind, the correct procedural thing at the moment would be to abide by our district plan policy.
Just picking up on Gareth's point and answering yours, you have a district plan which has legal requirements. You're obliged to meet those legal requirements. That's a given, and we've assumed that that's a given in terms of the decision making you've made to this point in time. I think the first thing you need to decide is what outcome you want, and then we can advise you on the best process to achieve that outcome. Does that make sense? Work out what it is you want to do, and then we can help you get to that point in the safest, most legally secure way as possible.
So, councillors, there are 3 options. There's pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages on those 3 options, 1, 2 and 3. I think they are fairly clear in terms of what those advantages are and the disadvantages.
Chairman, can I just please raise the question in regards of that management plan from 2008? doesn't specifically, I don't believe, mentions Kinloch, but we have on page 4(2) the policy implications, and once again it's a bit like another subject we're going to be dealing with later. It talks about have a mown grass surface. Is there anything in that policy implication that's contradictory to the 2008 reserve plan?
I think as a council you've discussed previously through obviously through the hearings process, the reserve management plan talked about permeable surfaces being utilised in the Kinloch situation, much as it does in the Whare Waka situation that you will talk about in the next item. That's simply a tweak, a minor tweak to the reserve management plan if you decide to go down the road of making the road a non-permeable surface. So that's a very minor element in the whole decision-making process, I believe. The key thing, as I mentioned earlier, is for you to clarify exactly what the outcome is that you're looking for in terms of whether you wish to see the road extended, whether you wish to see the chain removed, or whether you wish another outcome.
Yes, thank you. Through the Chair, I'm actually in preference of option 1, being that we do go up for consultation again. I mean, the district plan is quite a novel, but I was unaware of the district plan rulings around the poplars planted along the lakefront at Kinloch and the 4 metre exclusion zone of parking around those trees and whatnot. So I don't think we've actually gone out and consulted on what is definitely technically correct, and because this is a long-term project and we need the best outcome, that's where I feel most comfortable. So I'm happy to move option 1.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Thank you, Councillor Stewart. So it's been moved and seconded.
Just through the Chair, I just have a question that possibly might be for Mr Green. Just in terms of funding this project, would this be a candidate for development contributions considering the growth out at Kinloch?
I guess like a lot of development contributions projects, there'll be an element which is related to growth and there'll be an element which is not. I would suggest that the protection of the existing trees, those notable poplars, is something that we just required to do, and it would be hard to tag that back to growth. However, I think there is an argument that the beautification of the reserve through landscaping and particularly the extension of the road and parking facilities could be linked back to development contributions and therefore open up the opportunity to use that as a funding source.
Thank you. I would support Councillor Park's option 1 too as well. Thank you.
Just point of further clarification on page 3(2), there's business of a sealed road. What does it actually say about notification? I just read it before.
Whereabouts?
I'm just trying to, I only just seen it a second ago. Just under the policy implications, this means that any proposal that involves a sealed road will require a minor amendment to the reserve management plan. Similarly, if the reserves were to be closed to all vehicles, the reserve management plan would also require amendment. Did not the community out there come back by a great majority saying they wanted the whole thing open to the public? But to save all the cost of trees, roads amendments, if we closed it down, what would be the outcome? i.e. no access to vehicles.
So if your decision was to completely close the reserve to vehicles, we would have to make that amendment to the reserve management plan. We believe we could go ahead and do that without further consultation, given that that's something you've already talked to the community about and sought their views on. We would simply need to pass a resolution which would amend the existing reserve management plan to then be in line with your decision-making process.
Any further comments, councillors?
Yeah, through the Chair, just following on Councillor Boyd's comments regarding the high interest in maintaining it open for parking, etc., access. it's probably, would it be wise to go out for further consultation, because all the other submitters, some or all may have felt they've been misled or misinformed of the whole process, so it doesn't particularly necessarily mean that the decision is binding at this stage. It's just a consultation process. Yeah.
So if there's no further comments, it's been moved and seconded.
I might just ask a question. It's sort of semi-related to this. Just recently we held a jet bike and jet ski festival out there. Is there any feedback from any of the property owners as regards to that?
Not from the property owners. There was the Residents Association had some comments, but it was more about our communication of that event. So yeah, nothing negative or positive, to be quite honest.
Nothing relating to the actual reserve, which is the reserve that we're talking about at the moment.
In relation to
Negative or positive feedback or that kind of thing.
there was a little bit of a feeling that on the one hand we're doing this process but allowing that event, but I didn't feel much tension there really. They were generally quite supportive of the event.
And there was quite a well-attended event from what I saw when I went out there.
Apparently, and very well managed as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, any further questions, councillors, please? So it has been moved and seconded. So I'll put it to the meeting. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried.